Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. In this episode, we have celebrity psychic medium Erica Altmiller. Erica is a clairvoyant born and raised in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and currently residing in Los Angeles, California. She works with people all over the world, delivering messages from their loved ones that have crossed over to the other side. She discovered this gift when she was just 7 years old, when her great-grandmother had passed away, and began to make surprise visits to her. Along with private, one-on-one readings, Erica also shares messages from Spirit with large crowds, and most recently hosting Serving Up Spirit pop-up events at notable West Hollywood nightclubs. How cool. I love this. In this episode, we cover so much, including reading energy, how to connect with loved ones who have passed, including pets, communicating in dreams, nightclub spirits, and so much more. We also have a special introduction by Erica's father, Patrick Altmiller, aka Medium Dad, on raising a psychic medium and how this all came about. Get ready to have spirit served.
Hi, I am here to introduce my daughter, celebrity psychic medium Erica Altmiller. But before I do that, I would like to give the audience a peek behind the curtain of the discovery process of becoming a psychic medium. The number one question that we get when we are out and about doing shows or expos and those types of things is, how do you become a psychic medium? And the short answer of becoming a psychic medium is, you are born with it. You're born with the gift of communication. And sometimes you're born also with the gift of clarity in seeing and being clairvoyant. Now, Erica happens to have both of these gifts. And I always start along the timeline. Erica had what we would refer to as a normal childhood. And along the timeline of that childhood, the first happening that me and her mother noticed was as a 7-year-old little girl in second grade, we had a community tragedy where one of her classmates' fathers suddenly passed away of a massive heart attack. Now, sometime later, and I would guess it was more than a month, my wife fielded a telephone call from the widow of the gentleman that suddenly passed away. And in general, the conversation said, the woman told my wife that she wasn't calling and she wasn't upset, but Erica was actually telling her daughter that her father was talking to her. And what the father told Erica to tell this little girl was, number one, he was sorry he had to leave. She is going to be okay, and her mom's going to be okay, and everything is going to work out. So later that day, we sat Erica down very innocently and asked her about it. And when we asked, you could see a 7-year-old little child getting uncomfortable. And I asked Erica why she was saying this to this little girl. And she said, they tell me to. And I said, who tells you to do that? And she said, they do. You have to realize this is a little 7-year-old girl that doesn't know what's going on. She's repeating things that she's being told from a source that she knows nothing about. So, on that day, we never heard about that again. So Erica obviously stopped communicating with her friend about her father. Now, speed ahead 5 or 6 years, my maternal grandmother, we referred to her as Mimi. It was Erica's great-grandmother, who she was very close with for 11 years. One evening, everyone goes to bed. About 3 a.m., Erica walks in our room, awakens us, and just for the information part, spirits are most active between 3 and 5 a.m. all the time. So when we found that out, this made a little bit more sense. She woke us up and said, Mom, Mimi's in my chair in my room and won't leave. No, we thought she was having a dream, nightmare, whatever you want to call it. But what we've now learned is Erica's clairvoyancy. She can see a human spirit in the same way as when they crossed over. So Mimi was actually sitting in the chair in the form that she was in, spirit form, when she was a human. So Erica can actually see things of that nature. Some people want to put it in, quote, ghosts. They're not really ghosts. It's just the spirit of a person that you knew in human form coming back to her in spirit form. So those are the two things along the timeline that happened when she was a child. And from that point on, there were other instances along the way where she would say, I hear this, I hear that. But it wasn't anything until she graduated college. And I started suspecting that there was a communication thing going on. So I tried to do research and do different things, read books. And what we discovered was that she should go speak to a psychic medium. Now, we didn't know she was a psychic medium at this point. So she made an appointment in Pittsburgh with a seasoned psychic medium. And from that day on, that psychic medium said, "You are one of us." So that ends the story of the discovery process of a psychic medium. And I would like to just give you a little bit of information where you could help yourself. Erica does one-on-one personal readings, and they can be done. You have to realize they can be done on the phone, FaceTime, Skype, or in person. A lot of people pigeonhole themselves in wanting to be there in person with the psychic medium when you don't have to do that. And on the group, she does group sessions at people's homes. They call them parties, but where multiple people come in, and you can either do it as a group or separately. And she has also done, if you go to YouTube, her YouTube channel, you can see her actually doing shows in a theater in Pittsburgh. So to help yourself, if you feel you need some spiritual uplifting by contacting some people on the other side that you're missing, call Erica, the celebrity psychic medium, and she will take care of you in any which way you want to.
So how's it going, Erica?
Everything is good. I can't complain.
I'm so excited to chat with you today. I saw you a couple months ago, and I knew even before that I saw you that I was like, I'm going to connect with her. I just love the readings that you do. I even watched a couple YouTube videos before, just the way that you kind of read and operate and the energy that you show up with. It makes the crowd feel very relaxed is what I felt from it.
Well, thank you. Yes. The big shows are definitely my favorite things to do because it's like you get everybody in there at once. And it's, not that I don't obviously I love doing my one-on-ones too, but it's like you get every type of person in there that might be a skeptic or might be scared to get those one-on-one readings where they can be in a comfortable setting with a bunch of people and their loved ones alongside them. And, chances are if they're closed off, they're just there to watch. They won't get the read anyways because spirit won't try to call them out in the setting.
And exactly, like you said, it's so many different perspectives on it, especially with skeptics, or even if it's their first time and they don't even know what to expect. It can be a little bit overwhelming, but like I said, I feel like you have this energy and this presence that kind of puts people at ease.
I always say spirit knows in shows like that how to kind of maneuver me around, and it could be the most emotional moment 1 second, and then I could have the crowd uplifted and make a sweet joke about maybe something their loved one was saying to lighten the mood again to get it kind of shift back.
to bring the energy back. Yeah, for sure. So I feel like I have so much that I want to cover with you today. If you want to just start off kind of at the beginning, when you first learned about your abilities or when you had your first experience.
My first experience, and I always go back to this, is whenever my great-grandmother passed away. I was like around 6, 7 years old. Like, it was like I was starting to learn right before she passed, because I was just like feeling stuff about her and her being sick. And then when she crossed over, I would say about 3 or 4 days after her funeral, I was laying in bed, and it was late night, probably like 2, 3 in the morning. And I remember waking up and her just sitting at the edge of the bed, but like I wasn't terrified or anything, but obviously you're scared because you're like, why am I seeing her? Because she's not here anymore in the physical. It's like, you're a little kid. You're like, oh my God. So that's whenever I started running to my parents' room at night, because it kept happening over and over and over. And they just tell me, there's no such thing as ghosts. It's all good. So that's just like, that was like the catalyst of just many other things that were going to happen. And then, just a short story about me, and I think it was 3rd or 4th grade, somewhere around there. My friend's dad had died suddenly of like a massive heart attack, and I'm a little kid, so I don't have a filter, and I guess I had gone up to her and I said something along the lines of like, your dad just wants you to know that he's okay. When I got home from school that day, my mom was on the phone with that parent, and my mom got off the phone and was like, Erica, why are you telling people that like, telling Carrie her dad's okay, like, and that you can talk to him? And I thought nothing of it. I'm like, because I can. And they were just like, oh, no, there's no such thing as ghosts, But they were on to something at that point. And through, I would say high school, I just always knew things. Into college, I definitely probably partied too much, trying to probably suppress what was coming. I always say it was just one of those situations where you're like, okay, I feel everything now. And it was starting to get more intense. It wasn't until 2016 I really embraced it and just honed in on it and was like, I'm just going to do this full time and start doing readings. And I got a channeling coach, and she helped me tremendously with honing my gift and how to kind of, I guess, maneuver things so that I'm not having all these anxious attacks all the time, because it's a lot to energetically, obviously, to take in. So you have to kind of figure out how to stay centered throughout every day of your life and how to kind of cope with it.
Right. So you kind of noticed at a young age. Do you think there was something with the age? Like you said, there was no filter, so you just kind of had to embrace it at that age. When you're young, a lot of times I hear stories of people around that age, or like 10, 11, 12, even a few years after you, where they kind of see more things, or they're more just open in general.
Yeah, and I think too, because, your parents normally aren't going to condition you or like let you watch super ridiculously scary movies and stuff anyways, because they don't want to deal with that aftermath. So for me, it was very natural and normal. It felt like I thought everybody could feel and see what I could see. And when I started to understand that they didn't get it, it was very, very frustrating for me. And even in high school, like, I would be like, hey, this person's going to do this, like, with my certain group of friends, and they'd be like, what? And I'm like, why don't they see what I see? Like, I just always assumed everyone had kind of what I had. But yeah, as a little kid, you're just kind of like so pure and so, there a lot of ego's not there yet, and questioning and skepticism, none of that's there. So it's just kind of like, I felt her dad. I knew he was there. I knew my grandmother was there and talking to me. I seen it with my own 2 eyes. I still do. So I just thought everybody could do that.
And I think that's awesome how supportive your parents were. Do you think that they had an idea at the time that you had some ability?
So my mom's mom, her name's Loretta, she actually had the gift as well, but they didn't understand it until me. So I never got to grow up with her. I met her, I guess, as a baby, and she held me. But she kept telling people back in that time that she could talk to the dead, and she would have full-fledged open conversations, like, with them, like me and you were having if we were standing in front of each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, to her it was very normal, but it scared everyone. So she ended up they gave her electric shock treatment and put her in a mental institution because they said she was, obviously schizophrenic is what they were labeling her as. So she ended up losing custody of my mom and my mom's 3 sisters. So they went into foster care. And this was all due to the gift. So I always say I'm basically doing Loretta and my work, like, in this lifetime so that, like, I can speak for her because she didn't have a voice at all with her gift.
Wow. And that's really sad, but that's beautiful in a way that you can still share the gift of you and her through your work too, like you said.
Yeah, it's like the silver lining of it all, I guess, because she had to go through so much, like, trial and tribulation and, get treated so unfairly. But, like, to have her support really is moving and means the world to me because I feel like I know her in a way, obviously, different capacity because she's on the other side, and I know she helps guide me and steer me in the right direction as well, even with my gift and through my daily life. But, it's just... back in that time, it just was so, like, you're a freak, basically. And it's like, now it's just, everyone's, like, awakening, and I feel like way more open, and people are less, and I don't mind if someone's religious, obviously. That's their preference, whatever it is. I'm never judgmental on any of that stuff. But I feel like a lot of people now are less religious and more spiritual.
Yeah, which I think is awesome. Like you said, the time is evolving, and I think that there's so much that we all can just kind of share with each other, just knowledge and information. And we can all, I say to myself, we can all almost believe in everything,
Yes, and it's a matter of, I feel like a lot of people that are quick to judge on any topic just in society, they're not educated on it. So it's about learning, because not everyone's going to understand, like, she's a medium and she channels and she can talk to the dead. Some people are going to have that response of, like, she's crazy. But it's like, if you actually look it up and, like you said, watch the YouTube videos and watch how it actually works, then you're kind of like, oh, so this is a thing. So I do have everyone has intuition. I always say mine's just a little bit different, to say the least.
Yeah. So we'll go into a little bit of how do you absorb or read energy?
So whenever I meet someone or anything like that, I wake up in the morning, I'll just start there, and I always put, like, in my clairvoyancy, like, aka my mind's eye, I put, like, a bubble up around me so that, that can pretty much just be my level of protection. It's almost like I'm not out there seeking and being like, everything's negative, so I have to have this up. It's more of just a protection because I know that Spirit's going to channel me throughout the day. I'll have to absorb that, but spiritual energy for me is positive. It can just be a lot because it can be tiring. But I still don't even look at that as a negative. But yeah, so I absorb it. Whenever I'm doing readings, though, I channel through my right side. So I'll see it you'll see me pull up to my right in a lot of my shows too. Like, you'll see me start looking up to my right. And then I'll absorb it through there and take the messages, and it'll go, literally, it feels like it leaves out of my left hand. So you'll see me carry a crystal a lot of the times when I'm doing large shows. I don't do it all the time, but if I feel like I need to, I will. During readings and one-on-ones, I'll always have, like, rose quartz or amethyst or something like that I'm holding so that crystal can absorb the energy. And it's funny because, like, I'll take before and afters and stuff like that I have in the past of crystals, and if they're really big, it's like I crush them with energy. So, like, they'll end up really small over a few weeks after readings.
Oh, wow.
So it absorbs, like, the crystal absorbs, and it's not that it's negative energy. It's just more energy because I'm pulling it. So it's like, it's not that it's negative, positive, or in between. It's just energy that has to get put back out into the universe where it belongs.
And that's good that you're kind of channeling it into something else rather than taking it on yourself. Because like you said, you get really tired and depleted.
Yeah, and I've gone to channeling coach, 2 different ones. They're amazing, and they have taught me so many different techniques, and they're like, along the way, you'll teach yourself stuff, because you'll just be like, this works, this feels good. So I kind of taught that to myself of holding the crystal and realizing after, like, a few readings one time that, like, I just felt really fully energized still after that because I was getting depleted real fast, and you have to build up a tolerance. It's almost like drinking.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get drunk off one, but if you do it all the time, then you have a bit of a tolerance, you know. So I always joke about that. I'm like, spirits and spirits, you know. So now I've built up like a tolerance of like how to manage it so much better, so I can do more readings and I can withstand a show for 2 to 3 hours, you know.
And a lot of the work, I guess, kind of going into it and restoring yourself with the bubble, is it more visualizations? Is it more like meditations? Or is it kind of just what feels right at the time?
It's like a combination of things. So I always say, like, I always get my meditation done a lot of the times, like a 2-for-1, because I usually put on rain sounds or something like that at night. And I listen to my own breath, and I call it like my medi-sleep. So I know that if I didn't have time to like really get my meditation, like a really good one in for the day, I can always do it at night and restore that energy. But that's like my best ways through meditation. And then as far as the bubble goes, I always say, yes, it's through my clairvoyancy, but it's also very real because it's like we create our own reality. So I know that that level of protection is up. But if I feel there's like too much energy, or maybe something negative's going on around, or maybe someone's having words with someone, you just never know, like, or someone's vibes off, I'll double layer myself or triple layer. And I do it in my clairvoyancy throughout the day. That's usually at the grocery store, because the grocery store is a whole nother situation.
Even in the parking lot, trying to find parking depending on where you're going to.
Yes. Like, and LA traffic, I'm the worst. Like, I can't even, like, if I don't have to drive, I'm not going to.
Exactly. I think at this point it's like 5 or 6 layers now.
Yes, yes. We're like pushing the envelope here. It's like, oh my goodness. Okay, like, I really got to layer myself for that person that's going to lay on their horn behind me, even though like they're getting ready to go nowhere.
And as someone who is sensitive and I'm assuming an empath, are you able to kind of turn it on and off, or you just use these tools as like a way to kind of protect yourself?
Yeah, it's more of like just a management style of things. So, you know, when I'm turned on, like with the gift full capacity, that's when I'm prepped and I'm like, I know I have 3 or 4 readings in a row. Maybe they're all 1 hours, or maybe I have a show. But I always say I can't really turn it fully off, because I always say the door is slightly cracked open. And maybe I'm the one, or maybe it's me leaving it there, but I always feel like there's a level of respect between myself and the spirit world, that if they need to get something out, it's like my purpose to do that for them. So right. I'm like almost like willing to take on the extra-ness of the gift for them, because, you know, it's like a high purpose and I'm supposed to help other people for a living, and they've allotted me this gift to do that. So I feel like an obligation. It's almost like in a normal like 9-to-5 job, or a job, you know, where you're dealing with the physical people. It's almost like being on call to a certain degree of having to answer text messages at all hours.
Right. And at certain times you feel, yeah, like you said, you're kind of ready to go if you have a few readings back to back, or you know kind of what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah, and sometimes people do chalk it up to like you kind of being a performing circus animal to some degree, because sometimes you'll be out and like, it's not that people are trying to be rude, but they maybe don't fully understand it. But like, as soon as someone, like, a lot of the times I won't bring up being a medium, but I'll get outed at an event at some point, and I don't mind it. It's just that if that one person's there that's like, read me, like, it's like they get the Teresa Caputo style thing, like, where it's like, I have to explain to them, like, she has cameras and, like, a crew, and, like, they set that all up so that she knows, like, she doesn't know who she's reading for, but she just shows up to places, and that's how that goes down. Like, this chick is not doing this stuff all day long.
Right, and like you said, you're kind of working with your guides and trusting yourself, so it's kind of, almost out of your control, right?
Yeah, it's like a full-time job, but yeah, it's like, when I'm out there, like, and, you know, you're trying, like, I love talking about my gift, because it, like, maybe will get someone excited in it. Like I said, it's whether they're going to get a reading with me, or maybe, like, if they don't live here, or they, like, want to get a reading from somebody else, or, like, maybe it opens up their mind to other things and possibilities. If they're, like, grieving a lot, I always just tell people, I'm like, you'll just know when you're ready for a reading. whenever I'm out, because I'm like, I'll say I don't mix spirits with spirits, especially if I'm having a cocktail.
Which, yeah, actually, I wanted to bring that up. That's something I wanted to talk about. We'll talk about it now. Basically, because I try to be in the right headspace and grounded and try to do my meditation. Sometimes works better than others. And I've taken a few courses with like meditation and psychic courses and stuff. And I've noticed that when it comes to like mixing with alcohol or just being out and being tired, I'm like turned off to where I don't want to be open to anything, even if it's like signs, angel numbers, anything like that. I just kind of am turned off, and I think it might be like a protection technique. And I wanted to ask you, especially since the first time we met, it was at a reading at a bar, which I love. I think that that's awesome, and it reaches a totally different spectrum of people. What do you have to say with kind of balancing this world with spirits and spirits, as you put it?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question, actually. And, I think whenever people are trying to engage with spirit, but maybe they're a little tipsy, and stuff like that, what happens when we drink is we're drinking for multitudes of reasons. Sometimes it's to celebrate, sometimes it's to kill off some pain, sometimes it's to manage pain, or just, manage like maybe a social anxiety. We all have so many different things going on. So I always say a lot of that anxiousness like propels into that bar scene. So what you end up dealing with whenever you're trying to kind of feel centered and it's a large group of people is there's so many energies. Sometimes it hits to a lower vibration. So it's not that like, drinking obviously excessively is not great, but like whenever you're in that scene because everyone's drinking or you're around a lot of people, your vibrational energy lowers naturally when you start to get inebriated because it's taking you out of that full element of experience because it's like a numbing mechanism. So that's why you'll feel almost like you can't really connect with people on that level. That's why like people will be like, oh, I don't remember, or I blacked out. And it's like, that's a lower vibration because you just weren't supposed to remember that part. It wasn't important. But I do love reading in the bar scene because it draws a different crowd and people are like, I remember before I was like, if people are drunk, I'm not reading for them. I'm not doing this. But what I found is I've learned how to harness and hone that if people do have a few drinks and I've done shows at even wineries when I was living in Pittsburgh. The fact of the matter is the right person's going to get the reading in the group. And whether that means even if they have a few cocktails in them, that's okay. But yeah, that lower vibrational energy, if it's too low, spirit's not going to waste their breath because they're like, if they can't remember any of it while I'm channeling you to get to them, that's a lot of wasted energy and their time. But if it's like the right amount of tipsiness, they're good with it. But it is hard to connect, like what you're saying. Like you can't really tune into a whole lot in that particular scene. And it's kind of meant to be that way. It's like you're escaped. You know what I mean? That's why people go out and maybe they go to raves or whatever it is that they're doing, hopefully safely. But, people are doing things for different reasons and spirit world knows that.
Yeah, and I love how you put that, and I think that you have just such a unique perspective on it, which I really enjoy because I think society thinks there's like two separate worlds almost. You're going out, you're partying, you can't really be as spiritual, or if you're spiritual, you don't really know how to have fun. And the fact that you're kind of meeting people halfway, and you're still able to kind of ground and share this with them is really impactful.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think, it took me a while to get to that space where I felt comfortable enough, honestly, to do it in a bar. Because it's like, you have to like really be centered yourself and make sure like you're good. And, it's always cute because like people will be like, do you want to drink before the show? And I'm like, oh my God, I never have drinks till after. It's like a whole respect thing to spirit. Like, I don't care if other people do, but I'm like, it's a huge respect thing that like, I have to get that message out 100% to whoever needs it. And it has to be like, to the level of satisfaction of my higher power. Like, I can't mess with this. So it's a huge respect thing. But I do feel like a lot of people miss the boat. Like you said, I agree with you that they think it's two separate worlds. And quite frankly, both worlds kind of slam into each other. But it's like, having someone be like, oh my God, at a bar where you're not normally going to be like, oh, look, there's an ad for a medium to come here. She's a healer type person. Okay, well, maybe I will come because I like coming here anyway. So I figured, there's a lot of pain that goes into a lot of these spaces. So why not be there to help those people?
Yeah, that's so cool. You're raising the vibration and you're kind of bridging the two worlds together.
Yeah, and the people that are like engaging with in coming to something like that, they're helping me do that too. So it's like in a good way, killing two birds with one stone, because it's like showing you that, like, hey, you can come here. You don't have to always be in pain. You can come here to this space and also heal too.
Right, exactly. And like you said, the energy of the space, with all of these different personalities, and whether it is, drinking or not even drinking, just being in such a tight space with listening to loud music and all of these different personalities and things going on in everyone's life, there's so much energy. Even if I'm out in that situation, not even drinking, it's like I leave and I'm just drained, almost hungover, but it's like an energy hangover.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that, because I feel that way too. Like whenever you get that, even when I was serving at the Abbey, like here and there, it's like, I don't obviously drink or anything on my shift, but it's like energetically, it's such a hangover, It's like, oh my gosh, like, because you're just in this space, the music, the vibrational music, that vibration alone, people like forget about that. That's a lot of energy coming through, because it is positive, but it's a lot.
Yeah.
And you have to, our bodies are made of energy, so we absorb everything. And it's how do we process that absorption of energy from, other outside factors. So it is sometimes crazy, because it's like you could go out and have those like one or two drinks and like get home early. But if you were in a space where there's like hundreds of people and, even if you weren't one of those people that's like, yeah, let's do it, let's stay out all night, and you got home early, you're still tired, probably just as tired as the other person, because you're absorbing that and you're more aware of absorbing.
Yeah, I totally feel the same way. And I've tried a couple times putting up the bubble even before I go out. But like you said, it's like your senses are on overload. It's all of your senses are kind of just almost like a fight or flight. And then when the time you get home and, you're alone and it's like late, it's like kind of unwinding, and it's like this energy hangover.
Yes, and I always recommend red jasper. Like it's even like a tiny stone/crystal, whatever you want to refer to it as. But even if you put it in your pocket, or you have it on a bracelet, or you put it on a necklace, that's usually what I wear when I go out. Like I'll have it somewhere on me, and it absorbs any type of what could be negative, like feelings. And like I said, and that's protecting from lower vibrational energies that have nothing to do with you. So if like someone's there and maybe they lost a loved one and they're trying to kind of like kill that pain, you won't absorb that.
Oh, nice. I'm going to have to try that one.
Yeah, because everyone's out doing stuff. And like I said, sometimes people are out like on a really good high where they're like celebrating for the positive, but that's still energy that we have to absorb, because it's a hyperness of an energy versus a lowerness. So we're experiencing all these things, our body's trying to process it, and that's why people are like, you have to be careful with even humans. Like we always say, like emotional vampires. It's like a fun mediumship term, and I'm sure a lot of other people that aren't even mediums use that, but it's like you have to be careful where it's not being selfish, but it's being able to manage your energy, because we all have to help each other or our loved ones, or just on an everyday basis, but we can't help anyone unless we're good.
Right. And even when it comes to, like, let's say people drinking maybe a lot, heavily drinking, or you add drugs in, that really, and correct me, and I want to hear what you have to say about it, really lowers your vibration. Like, are you more susceptible to really low vibrations and other things entering, whether it's just different entities or things like that you've seen?
I always say, like, the lower echelon of entities and the lower vibrational ones usually kind of want to run from my light. They're like, I don't want to engage with her, because what if she clears me out? They're
Right.
kind of like looking at me like, I'm good over here with this person for now. I'll feed off them for a minute, and we all have those moments where we're going to deal with, and it's not that they're demonic, it's just a lower vibration. Like maybe, somebody that's crossed over, probably maybe crossed over because of alcoholism or because of a drug overdose or drug usage, or, whatever it was that they were doing. And they kind of lurk in those spaces. That's why I always tell bars and clubs, you got to clear these places out, like weekly or daily. You got to get that sage out. You got to cleanse the energy, because if not, your establishment's absorbing all of that.
Yeah. And like you said, it could be like residual. It could stay there for a while, and maybe they wouldn't even know until you or someone else who is sensitive can pick up
Yeah,
on
it
it.
can kind of just like lurk there, and it's funny because the darker energies have a way of hiding in like the corners and the crevices and the crawl spaces, I call them. And then it's like whenever there's too many people there, or lots of different things going on, and that vibe goes up with the music. See, the music's bringing that vibrational energy up. That's why people are like excited to dance or they hear that song. But then there's this other pole of the booze and the drugs where it's like that can throw it right away, and then you're not balanced at all, because it's like you're all over the place feeling everything, and then you're like, why am I having this anxiety? Or you're seeing somebody have anxiety and you're like, okay, time to get some water.
Right. And do you think like the darker energies, are they there all the time? Is it more active, whether it's like, a spirit, ghost, whatever you want to call it, or just energy? More so like when everyone's there and the music is playing, or is it like even when there's no one there and it's like during the day and empty?
I feel like they come out to play more when the crowds are around, because they're less noticeably feeling, because people can't really target where this feeling's coming from.
Interesting.
Yeah, I always get the vibe in any nightclub I've ever worked in, from college until now. I've always noticed it felt different for me, whenever it was like tons of people just around. And then the music goes up, that vibrational level. It's just an easier way for them to kind of sneak around and chill out. But it's almost comforting to that soul that's kind of, I wouldn't say like they're lingering, but it's just like a piece of them that's left behind to a place that they may have hung out at, or been a regular at. You just never know, but it's always a piece of that energy is always going to reside there. It's not that the whole person is there, if that makes sense, but there's this energy left behind, and that's why you have to keep clearing it to help all of it cross back over.
Right. And I like what you said about how whoever, the people there may not even notice that it may come on as anxiety, because you have so much going on to begin with that if a feeling comes up or you're feeling some type of way, I think your guard is down, you're less susceptible with everything going on.
Yeah, and people do. Yeah, they drink to kind of let that guard down, because they know their guard's up, or and it's kind of like, I just want to let loose for a night. There's nothing wrong with that. You just got to protect yourself from anything else that's going to come in that energetically could kind of mess with you. And it's not like people actually like are getting ready to go out and they're like, where's my red jasper, my whatever, my rose quartz. I got to stay blocked from all that negative bar energy.
Right.
And it's like I said, it's just natural for that to happen, and it festers in like high-end dining spaces. It's everywhere, it's anywhere there's people, there can be negative. So you always just got to be on guard. But it's those, like, I can never do those big crowds where the DJs go, and like those with the house music, and you see on like Instagram and stuff, like Benny Benassi and them like throwing down, and it's like, I'd have to be the one in the DJ booth. I could never be in that crowd.
Oh yeah. Or you're going to be energetically hungover for like days after.
Yeah, I'll just like be in my own cocoon, like sleeping like for days and days to like really solve all of this. But I know that you feel a lot too, because as I'm talking to you, I feel how energetically like sensitive you are as well.
Yeah, and honestly, I love talking to you and what you've said so far, because I feel like it reaches a whole different audience of people who may not even realize their sensitivities, and they like going out and they don't realize that maybe it is to numb what they're feeling in other ways.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people have a hard time owning that part, because it's like you want to believe you're this tough person and that you're dealing with it, but we all have things like, I call this Earth School, like this is the hardest planet to be on in the world. So I mean, it's like we decided to come down here and to be on the toughest space and deal with tough things and loss and grief and trauma and all different levels of it. So it's a lot to take on, and we're all going through something. And I think people, if they were just a little kinder to each other, like, and realize that it's not always just about you. It's like everyone's going through something, but if you'd open up, maybe you'd know a little bit more. And I think by the nature of obviously what I do, I obviously hear a lot of that. Like, I have no one to go to, and I come to you, and it's like, yeah, but are you opening up? Maybe start a conversation with somebody, or don't be so shy about it. Like, it's hard because like we're all going through stuff though. And I always say everyone's going through something.
Right.
Everyone has drama, but it's to what level at that specific time in their life. It's always going to be different.
Right. Yeah, totally. And when it comes, I want to shift gears a little bit because we have a lot to cover. So I could talk to you for hours.
I know, right? I could talk to you too.
When it comes to your readings and you're communicating with someone on the other side, are there common messages or themes that come up that you notice?
Yes and no. But a lot of the times they will come through with apologies if they deem it necessary. But if there was trauma given by the person on their behalf on the other side, maybe they didn't realize what that was about. Yes, there's a lot of apologies. As of recent, it's been a theme, but I've had a lot of animals come through, which can come through for me as well. A lot of dogs have been coming through for me lately about owners, about their decision making or what happened to the animal prior to its passing. And there's all different scenarios leading up to that. But what people sometimes harbor and hold on to is that energy of, because the animals obviously can't speak for themselves, is, did I do the right thing? And usually the animal will walk them through, like, from start to finish of what had happened to them, what the owner did, and how it was supposed to be that way.
Right, and I wanted to ask, is, I guess, an animal transitioning to the other side similar to a human experience, to where, you see them when you pass on, you're reunited? Is that something that you feel is around the same, like a similar experience?
Yes, the only difference for them is they literally run across a beautiful rainbow bridge. Like, that's a whole thing. And I can see it in my clairvoyancy, and it's wild. And I unfortunately lost my first pet. I said, like, she was like the love of my life. Her name's Diva, but she passed July 18th of last year. And when I had to go, and I knew it was her time because, like, I just understood it. But for me, it was still hard because I can't see things always for myself because I'm here to learn lessons too. But as she was crossing, I just felt this immense, like I'm over here with all of our other dogs. Like, I could see this, like, rainbow and, like, beauty and calm. Like, she could see again. She wasn't blind anymore. It's just wild how the animals cross over in the same exact way, just like how humans are received. They're received by angels and too, but, like, it's like humans are more receiving humans first, and then the animals sometimes are running to them at the same time.
Aww.
So yeah, it's wild how, and when animals come through for me, it's a little different. It's more of like a calmer, unconditional love because of the nature of how animals are.
Right. When an animal or a human crosses to the other side, do you notice, is there a transition period? I know a lot of people, as soon as they lose a loved one, whether it's, animal or human, they are going through their own grief. Is there, like, a transition period if they look for a sign or looking for something that it will take some time to kind of connect?
It depends on their grief. And, we're all going to grieve no matter what our loss is. But there's no specific time. If you're open to it and prior to their passing, but if it's sudden, it's going to be a bit harder. And I understand that. But whenever they're crossing over, they can connect with us. Like, just for instance, I had to take Diva because it was like her last day here in the physical. And when I got home that day, I took Carmelo, my other dog, and I put him in bed with me, and I just wanted to sleep. That's all I wanted. And dream imagery is very real because we can have visitation dreams. 2 hours after she passed away, she came to me in my dream telling me she's all right.
Wow.
And that I did the right thing. Because I was, like, beside myself, and I took her alone, and people would call and be like, I'll go with you. It's something I felt like I had to handle.
Yeah.
And deal with. And I'm tough like that, but I was like, man, even for me, I don't know that I should have probably done that alone, but it happened that way it was supposed to be. But she came to me in my dream 2 hours after crossing over. So it's like, I knew how open I am. So I'm like, I was praying before she passed and telling her, please just tell me you're okay. I know that you're going to cross over. I know it's your time, but you have to, like, let mommy know, like, it's okay. And that's whenever that happened, I called my parents. I'm like, oh my God, she already came to me. Like, because I was grieving so much that there's no way I was going to see a sign in front of me. So that's normal. But if you're more open, the quickest way to do it is to pray for them to be in your dreams. And usually they'll step forward fairly quick.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. If, someone has lost someone recently and they want to see a sign or they want to communicate or have, some sort of peace around their passing, what should they do?
Peace around their passing, like for the loved one?
I guess for both. And like you said, to kind of move through the grief or just receive a sign, something along those lines.
Like how should they ask, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, the best way I always say is before you go to bed, kind of put it out there. Like, it's almost like me, like, cracking the door open, like, hey, if you could come to me in my dream just to let me know you're okay. Because it's a visual and it's more of the physical end of things, which we crave. Because once someone's gone, we crave physicality, And dreams allow you a level of physicality that you wouldn't receive if you're just seeing, like, maybe something on television that might be their favorite movie.
Right.
They will send you signs like that. A lot of the times, though, like within the first 24 to 48 hours, they will flash lights because they're energetically made up of energy and electricity themselves. It's easy for them to connect with electricity. So they'll zap things and like flicker lights. Flickering lights is like the number one side I made it over.
Interesting.
Like, and you have to pay attention, like, obviously, and not be like, oh, I got to call the electrician. Like, you have to like really... Because during grief, it's so hard to, like, accept that it's probably them, but just know, like, to have that faith and be like, they are here. They're good. But, yeah, just being open, it's hard. And grief, and over time, sometimes it takes people longer, and that's okay, too. But the grief of it all, you have to remember, too, that if you're not real accepting, like, that they're gone... And that does take time. Remember, like, they're trying to get us settled down, too. So if you kind of keep in mind, it helps us to not be too selfish about it if we know that our grieving affects them on the other side. Like, it's like we got to be at peace so that they can be at peace. And even if it's a 1% capacity at first.
Right. Just kind of moving through it each and every day. And I know something when it comes to... communicating, like you said, with someone on the other side, when you're in the grief or when you're not, even just asking the universe for some sort of guidance. A lot of people, myself included, it's battling that doubt of like questioning yourself, of knowing, okay, this might be a sign. And it's just kind of like leaning into trust, which isn't always easy.
Yeah, and I always say it's so tough because you want to believe it's them, but then there's that bout of skepticism that we all have, including myself, at times, because you're like grieving so much that you just want to like get through it. And it's like grief is such a process. And I always say we grieve everything, like including, if friendship ends, we grieve physical things too. So when they transition to the light and they become non-physical, we're craving the physicality. It's like they're still there. They're still connected to our hearts. But it's accepting the signs, which is so tough because it's like, that's why I always say pray for the dream imagery, because they'll show you things in dreams and you'll get to see them physically versus, like I said, maybe sometimes they'll drop different types of change on the floor and places and you'll be like, oh, maybe that's them. But no, it is them.
Yeah. It's just
and whoever
trusting.
comes to mind at first, I like to elaborate on that, but whoever comes to mind first, if you have multiple people crossed over, that's who it is. Whoever is first at top of mind, whose vibe you're feeling, that's who it is.
Yeah, and that's something that I've worked with myself also. So, like, if I'm asking for a sign and something comes up, it's just, you have, like, that first millisecond of, like, oh my God, the sign, and you trust it, and then I think doubt slowly creeps in. But then it's like kind of pushing away the doubt and saying like, hey, I know internally like this was a sign, and just trusting it.
Yes. And that's tough because believing in faith is probably the toughest thing on planet Earth to believe in, right? Because you're being asked to believe in something that physically doesn't exist.
Right.
Right? So the physicality isn't there. It's not tangible. So I think there's a lot to be said for people that do, keep the faith. And even if you still question it a little bit, that's okay. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Have you ever had any situations to where, you're communicating with someone, and a spirit is like disguised as someone else?
Oh, I have. That normally will only happen during house blessings or clearings. Not normally during the blessings. The blessings are usually newer homes, but the grounds can still be a bit haunted. But I did deal with a poltergeist back in Pittsburgh that tried being like a sweet talking child, almost like ghost. And then once I understood what it was, because my guides were like, no, you got to go up to the crawl space and see this for yourself. And that was the wildest thing I'd ever seen, because it's the darker entities that will do that. The love and light and heaven ones will never do that.
And I was going to ask what the signs were that you kind of had an intuition that it wasn't who they appeared to be.
They felt inauthentic, and that's not normal for me to feel from a spirit. And that's how I knew, I'm connecting with something that's not on my level of acceptance. So what was happening is I had this couple back in Pittsburgh call me when I still lived there, and they said, hey, we're having some issues. We have ghosts here. My kid has a bunch of toys, and I guess they were like electronics and stuff like that, and they would be watching TV, and all the toys would just start going off and moving around. That's how strong this thing was.
Wow.
And I'm like, well, maybe it is a ghost just playing around, because ghosts can play, like even the good ones sometimes, to get your attention. And then when I got there, I looked at this fire truck, and the crib was sitting there, and I said, this thing, like, what's your connection? Because I'm getting this fire truck, and I see it flying across the room. They're like, whatever this is, the other night, through that, one of those really heavy, back in the day, aluminum, heavy-duty fire trucks that was on a shelf at the baby's crib.
Wow.
While they were all in bed, like, and the baby woke up, obviously, and was crying. It didn't hit the baby, thank God, but it hit, like, the outside of the crib. So I went there, I go up to the attic, and that's where it was lurking. And I had the people, and I was doing prayer, and I was saging, but it was trying to be like, I'm nice, like, I'm sweet. And I just remember it trying to, like, pretend to be something that it wasn't. And my guides were like, this is dark. Like, you got to get rid of this thing for them. And it grabbed onto my hair. I thought it was going to rip out my hair extensions. Like,
wow.
But I got rid of it. And that was, like, the most intense thing to this day that I'd ever dealt with. But poltergeists are known because they're so physically, energetically, they're the ones that move things the most, if that makes sense.
And how were you able to kind of clear it or, move it?
I literally was drenched in sweat, and I'm not a big sweater. And I used a lot of sage and holy water, and I just blessed every ounce of that house and got it out. And it turns out, at the end, I usually do a little recap with people, and I go over some things that they shouldn't do. And I said, I keep seeing something that was brought into the house. I'm like, it was an antique, or it was from a thrift store. And she goes, oh my God. I said, what? She goes, my mother loves to shop at thrift stores.
Oh,
and
no.
I was like, that is not good. I go, you got to sage that stuff before you bring it in your house. And I know, obviously, you're not going to know that, right? The everyday person is not going to think of that. But there can be attachments to things, especially like antique stores. I will not step in.
Yeah.
That is never going to happen. That's like a whole show for itself.
Because you never know what you're getting along with it, right?
You don't, and you don't know where it came from. You don't know what it's been through. You don't know what it was around. Anytime you move into a new house or anything, you should always sage it, because you're actually, it doesn't even matter if it's a brand new house, because it's the grounds that could still be haunted. So you have to really pay attention to that stuff. But yeah, the poltergeist was the only one I've ever dealt with and keep in mind, that's a dark entity that I've engaged with at that level, and that it pretended to be someone it wasn't. It's like, if you ever watch like one of those scary movies where like the priests are trying to like do an exorcism on somebody, and you hear it like talking like a child.
Yeah.
The person, they disguise themselves as somebody sweet and innocent because they're so dark and terrible.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's a lot of energy. It took me like a few days to recover from that, because it's not something you can just really bounce back from. And I was like protected, and I did all the right things, and I got it out. But yeah, and people go, where does it go? I go, I have no idea, but it's not in this realm anymore.
Yeah. Wow, that's intense. How do you feel about Ouija boards?
Oh my God, I run from them. I obviously was that girl, you know, back in high school or back in, you know, middle school where we'd always have sleepovers and, you know, the Ouija board came out. And now, knowing what I know about them, I just stay away from them because it's like welcoming. It's almost like I always say the best way to describe them is leaving your front door open and never locking your door like in an apartment building and just leaving it open. You just never know who's going to walk in or if they're ever going to leave or what they're going to do. So I always say steer clear. I know that there's people that are probably skilled at using it because I know you have to obviously you have to make sure you say goodbye or else the portal stays open forever.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too. I'm the same as you. I've actually never played with one, but I really don't want to at all.
I would never recommend it.
I've heard so many bad experiences with it.
I had a client throw one away and I think they may have, I can't remember if they tried to burn it or they broke it in half and it came back in one piece and was back in their garage.
Wow.
They found it again. They didn't have two. And I was like, are you sure you never had to? They're like, never had to. Literally got this thing out, knew that it was creating chaos in the house, and then it was back in their house.
It just
I was
reappeared.
Like, that is the movie The Craft or something, you know?
Oh. And I wanted to ask too, are there any, and you could respect the privacy of your clients, and is there anything you would like to share as far as stories? And I'm sure you have so many. Anything that kind of sticks out or something that you would like to share?
I'm trying to think of which ones. Yeah, I would always respect my clients. I'd never give names or anything like that. I've had so many honest experiences. I think I always like to talk about the more public ones that I never videoed or had a videographer at or anything. But one of the craziest reads I did was, it's not super crazy, but I was doing a reading and it was a gallery reading and I was doing body, mind, spirit expos. I was traveling up and down the East Coast doing these expos. And in the morning, I'd always go and do a free workshop. And then that would draw clients to see that hey, I can do public readings and then I can do a one-on-one reading for you at my booth if you want. And I started reading and I zoned out and I was talking to this lady and I think it was one of the first shows my parents were even at. And they were I was talking to this lady about this paw and I go, I keep seeing it on my thigh. And she stood up and she had a pair of jean shorts on and she goes, my dog just passed away. And she lifted up her jean short and there was a paw print she had tattooed.
No way.
So that was one of the wild ones when it came to especially animals. I was even I get surprised at what spirit's telling me and then whenever they validate it for me.
Right.
But I was yeah, I keep seeing a paw print and on the thigh, I keep seeing something with the thigh. And then she stood up. She goes, do you mind if I stand up? I'm like, stand up. She goes, I'll show you, and lifts it up. And I was like, oh, wow. Okay. That's interesting.
And it's so crazy when it's so, it's confirming. And right there, it's the proof that you were able to pick up on that. Yeah.
And it's wild. And then there's a funny one on my YouTube that's everyone's favorite about a guy that, and it's kind of crazy because he had been gone, I want to say a few years, but I kept getting a J name. And I don't know if you saw that particular video. And I was like, I was getting ready to say, is it a nickname? And the girl interrupted me and she goes, we called him Mr. Johnson. That was his nickname. And I was like, Mr. Johnson? She goes, he was a big guy. And I just there's 300 people. I mean, we were on the ground laughing. I mean, spirit has a funny way of really making a crowd go up and down.
Yeah. And I'm sure, especially with all of the people, the large crowds too, when it's that connection and it's the validation, I'm sure it gets wild.
It's intense for sure. It's very, very intense. And I think too, it's all my hardest reads. I tend to draw a lot of people that have kids that have crossed over, which is the toughest reading you can possibly do. Because whenever role reversals are done, where the child leaves the physical before the parent does, it's that reversal of time. Those are the toughest reads. And the thing about a lot of the kids, you know, with this fentanyl and all this stuff going on in the world, I end up reading for a lot of them. And I don't know if that's the type of client I help. And whenever the kids come through, it's crazy because a lot of them are so embarrassed of maybe how they crossed over, and I always try to walk them through it, but they won't ever say out loud that, like, hey, I passed away, like, accidentally, you know what I mean, or it was because of this, because a lot of the times it's accidental, but, like, the parents take it as, like, intentional, you know, and so it gets confusing, and sometimes I have to, like, wait to let the parent or the loved one say, hey, like, they'll tell me everything and I'll explain it, but they'll be like, yes, they passed on their own or whatever. But so those are always the most uncomfortable, though, because it's, like, so sad and devastating, and every loss is devastating, but it's just something different when it comes to something so accidental, or, you know, it's the kid leaving before the adult or the older loved one or the brother or sister. Those are like the really, really, like, gut wrenching,
right?
You know, and it's hard for me because it's like once someone cries, like, I want to hug them, but I have to keep my energy to a certain place so that I can keep the read going. Because if I stop, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's almost like you have to stay neutral and can't let your emotions get involved at that point.
Yeah, and that's why whenever I connect, when I start to connect, I lose all ego. So I allow all of that to leave. So it's pureness. It's literally me and spirit. I don't filter anything. I say exactly what they tell me to say. Hence why some things that I say, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, on a public platform, what is going on, guys?
Too funny. And you just worked with Big Frida recently, right?
I did.
Nice.
I did work with Big
Are you able to
Frida.
share anything about that?
I am. I got a call from her manager and executive producer, and I didn't know at the time. They were just like, hey, we have a celebrity. We heard about you. We want you to read for them. And I said, can I stop you right there? And they go, yeah, why? I'm like, because people sometimes want to tell me things, and I don't want to know. I go, please don't tell me who it is. Just tell me where to show up and just keep me separate from whoever this is. I want this to be raw. Like if I read for a celeb and it's anything like that, I want it, like, to be like for anybody else. You know what I mean? I want me to be surprised at who it is. You know, I want the camera to capture all of that stuff so that it's raw, it's organic, it's not anything else. But yeah, yes, it was amazing to read for her.
That's awesome. And I think it's going to come out, well, when I put this episode out, probably the week of when people are listening to this, so around the same time, so they'll have to check it out. It's on the show, right?
It's June 28th at 9 p.m. on Fuse and Fuse Plus, and then World of Wonder Presents Plus.
Oh, so awesome.
Yeah, so I think at World of Wonder Presents Plus, it's just airing in the UK because it's like a co-production they did, but I know on World of Wonder Presents, it'll be in December. I think they do it in America, but right now you can do Fuse Plus, and I think Fuse Plus is like $1.95 or something a month if you don't have the app. Is somewhere around there, or to get the app, I mean.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's an amazing experience with her, and I had no idea, but just a little fun fact that no one else really knows, but I didn't realize that she really wasn't excited about having a psychic come there, but like I never picked that vibe up, and the executive producer was like, oh my God, she was freaking out before you got here. We didn't even know if we were going to be able to go through with the reading. And I'm like, oh my God, she was so sweet and kind and open.
Oh, how funny.
Yeah, I mean, she's like, guarded like anyone else would be.
Right.
But once like the reading starts, like I explained everything to her, and you only see like, I think like, so much of the clip. I mean, I think it was like an hour reading, but you'll probably get like 7 or 8 minutes of it.
Uh-huh.
So
nice.
they dwindle it down to like the key moments that they wanted to show about her reading. But yeah she really, in the trailer, you'll see that she gets emotional.
Yeah. Oh, how cool.
Yeah, she received it very well, and she needed the messages for sure.
Yeah. I have a couple roundup questions.
Sure.
Some rapid fire questions. What would you say would be your best tip to give to someone who's wanting to develop their intuition, psychic abilities, mediumship abilities?
I would say probably go and look online, because a lot of places, like I'm going to do one eventually, but like, there's different spaces where you can go where they have like development classes and things of that nature. I do coaching sessions as well, where I can help people develop that as well. Like some people do like actually like group things. I do them one-on-one. So I'll help people like kind of tune into that. I help teach little kids too, like that have the gift. That's another thing. So that they can kind of hone in on it. Cause I have like, I think my youngest client's like 10 years old.
Oh, wow.
So yeah. So you can help people to kind of embrace like what it is that sometimes like they're blocking themselves. So I can teach them how to like kind of really refocus, reopen. You can always go online. There's courses there. I do things for one-on-ones. It just depends on like kind of what the person is looking to do. I've helped other mediums, like, kind of develop and accept, like along the acceptance route. I always say coming out of the medium closet isn't easy. So it's like, I just help them to kind of like understand their gut feeling a lot more and how to like kind of hone in on that.
Yeah, I have a couple friends that I feel like have the gift, and they'll share small snippets of like dreams and just different things with me. And it's like, I know that they have it, and I try to encourage them, support them to like discover it or maybe lean into it a little bit more. So yeah, I think that's awesome that you're able to teach and help other people.
Yeah, I knew what a struggle it was for me and trying to understand what I had. And then, like, you have to find someone to help you with it. So I always said, like, I will always help anyone. Like, if they're a fellow medium, if there's someone that just wants to develop it, I'm here for it all.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite book?
I do. First, The Secret. And that's universal law, obviously. And there's a video on, I want to say it's Netflix. So that's my favorite, because I love putting things out to the universe and then receiving them back and teaching people about that as well. That like, it's like you put out good, you get a lot of good back. If you put out bad, you'll see things kind of, take a turn.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out. Favorite self-care practice?
Definitely meditation.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's my favorite. You can't go wrong with it. That and like a day at the spa here and there, because you have to like literally treat yourself to like, body, mind, and soul.
Exactly. Energetically, physically, everything, right?
Yeah, take care of yourself, because it's like that's when you feel your best. And I don't even care if it's like going to get your hair done or like going to get a massage, or you have to take care of yourself so that, you feel your best. Because when you don't feel your best, you can't perform your best.
Yeah. Well, Erica, thank you so much. I loved chatting with you. This was awesome, so informative, and I feel like I could just keep going forever.
I know, right? Well, thanks for having me. I totally appreciate it, and I love speaking with you. I feel like I can literally talk to you like for like days straight.
Seriously. If you want to share any of your social media or people listening how they can contact you.
Yeah, so ericaaltmiller.com. So it's ERICAALTMILLER.com. And it follows with the same thing across all of my social medias, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok. And you can book me that way as well. If you go to my contact pages or DM me or send me a Facebook message, I answer everything.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.